section of your online assignments, I'm going to be going over some basics of electrofishing. So, as a reminder, if you attended the Zoom electrofishing certification class on April 14th, you do not need to watch this recorded lecture. You do not need to take the associated lecture check quiz. If you did that online training, that basically covers what I'm going to cover here today. So, again, you do not need to take watch this lecture if you did the April 14th training. So what I'm going to talk about in this overview is basically just how to operate a backpack electrofisher. We'll talk about some introduction stuff, what electrofishing is, where it came from. I'll talk about equipment, operation of electrofishers, as well as effects on fish and safety considerations for human safety. This is going to be broken down into a couple different recorded lectures, and then you'll take a quiz afterwards to assess your learning. I could not, for the life of me, get Panopto to work on my computer. I do not know why, so that is why I'm recording this on QuickTime. If you're having trouble downloading these, like the files are too big, let me know and I'll try and troubleshoot it with you. So today we're going to be talking about electrofishing. So electrofishing involves using an electric field to capture fish. And with electrofishing in general, really the concept of electrofishing is not too hard to get, right? You're just applying electricity to water, it stuns the fish, you scoop them up. But in the background, there's a whole bunch of different parameters that you have to keep in mind in order to operate a backpack electrofisher safely for both the fish and yourself. So voltage, current, duty cycle, frequency, waveform, those are all different components of electrical field generation that are relevant to electrofishing, as well as water quality parameters like conductivity, what fish species you're using, things like that. So there's a lot more that goes into this than just getting into the water and turning on your backpack electrofisher. So some history about electrofishing. It actually started out as a method for commercial fish capture. So back in the 1860s, there was a patent for a battery-operated electric fishing device where fishermen are basically going out, applying electricity to waters in order to stun/kill the fish and scoop up the fish. Very high efficiency fish capture technique. It was something that was used in late 1800s, early 1900s. However, it was banned for commercial fishing, past the early 1900s because it was so efficient and so detrimental. It's an indiscriminate method, so you get a ton of bycatch, things like that. So it really kind of wasn't used for a while. And then it popped back up in the 1980s and 1990s as a method for monitoring fish populations. So using this idea that we can apply electrical currents to water systems to not kill the fish, but to stun them long enough that we can scoop them up and capture them to manage the populations. In the 1990s, it was banned by several agencies because there were a lot of safety concerns back then. The electrofishers back then didn't have the same safety standards that we have now, so there was a lot of accidents associated with them. So it was reworked over the 1990s, and by the early 2000s, with this improved safety and policies, pretty much now it's used in every state and province, so US, Canada, and worldwide as well. It's a really common fish capture technique. It's especially common in this part of the world for monitoring juvenile salmon populations. So in terms of electrofishing equipment, you can have a backpack electrofisher or you can have a boat electrofisher. Backpack electrofishers are mobile, so you wear the whole electrofishing unit on your back and you go out into wadable streams. So by wadable, I mean waist deep or down. You have to be able to walk through the streams. You're manually capturing the fish here with nets. There's also boat electrofishing shown here on the right. For a boat electrofisher, you have the same components as a backpack electrofisher, except for everything is attached to a boat. And so in boat electrofishing, this is used for deeper waters. You can use this in lakes as well as deep, slow-moving rivers. They're both common techniques. You see both of these used in this part of the world, although I do find that in the Midwest, they use boat electrofishing more frequently because they're much more, interested and put a lot more effort into managing lake populations of fish, whereas over here, most of the focus is on river populations of fish. So around this part of the world, like I said, you see both, but backpack electrofishing does seem to be a lot more common, and that's what we're going to focus on today. Although the same principles apply in terms of, electrical information, things like that. I also included two videos here that I'd like you guys to watch, one focusing on backpack electrofishing and the other focusing on boat electrofishing. Also, boat electrofishing is a lot more dangerous, has a lot more safety concerns than backpack electrofishing because the water is so deep when you're sampling in a lake or a deep, slow-moving river. You have to put out a lot of electricity. So boat electrofishing has like a lot more safety concerns than backpack electrofishing. So for backpack electrofishers, there's 4 components to your electrofisher. There's the control units, the cathode, the anode, and the power source. The control unit is the actual backpack electrofisher that you wear on your back as you're walking up the stream. It has a control panel shown here, and this is where you can set all of your settings for like things like voltage, duty cycle, things like that. Your anode and your cathode are the 2 electrodes that are putting out electrical currents into the water. So the anode is what you're holding out in front of you. The cathode, also called the rat tail, kind of trails behind you. The cathode is the negative electrode, and the anode is the positive electrode. And the way I remember that is, well, I like cats, so this doesn't really work with me, but Brittany's allergic to cats, so I always just think Brittany doesn't like cats because she's allergic, and so cats are negative. So cathodes are negative, anodes are positive. And then there's the power source. Power sources for backpack electrofishing units have come a long ways in just the last like 5 years. When I started electrofishing, we just used a modified car battery, and it was really super heavy. Now they have these really nice lithium ion batteries that are like a fraction of the weight, so they're a lot easier to lug around the river. So when you're backpack electrofishing, this is kind of what it looks like. This is an old unit, but it's the same idea that this is a control panel. You have the battery down below, and then you have the anode and the cathode trailing out behind you. So we have the anode, which is positive, the cathode, which is negative, and the direction of your electrical current is going to go from negative to positive. So it's going this way. And fish are going to be more attracted to the positive side, so the anode. So when you are electrofishing, if you have your settings set perfectly, you're going to get some sort of like, it's like an involuntary swimming behavior where fish are attracted to this anode. And so they're kind of moving in the same direction of the current, which is really nice because then you can just scoop them up without them going belly up. In terms of electrofisher brands, around this part of the country, Smith Root is definitely the most common. So they make backpack electrofishers as well as boat electrofishers. They offer the industry standard trainings. Pretty much everyone that I've seen doing electrofishing and all the units I've used in my experience in this part of the country has been through Smith Root. Midwest lake electrofishing systems is more prevalent in the Midwest. They more so specialize in boat electrofishing because lake surveying is a lot more common in the Midwest. And then Hailtech Aquatic Research, I see them around, I think they might be more Canadian based, but they're not super popular out here, but I see them pop up every once in a while. So those are the electrofisher brands that are most common in the fisheries world.